You ever notice how silence has a sound? That hollow hum that fills the air when everyone's gone home and you're still standing there, pretending it's fine. Imagine this: a half-empty house after a party. The floor sticky with spilled drinks. The faint echo of laughter fading into the walls. You're holding a warm beer, staring at the dent in the couch where someone used to sit. That's when it hits you: everyone found someone, and you didn't even notice them leaving. That, right there, is the feeling most men wake up to every morning of their relationship. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet. A slow realization that the woman sitting next to you has already left emotionally. She's scrolling through her phone, talking about her day, but she's not with you, she's somewhere else. You can feel it, but you don't dare name it. Because the moment you name it, it becomes real. Men don't get abandoned with slammed doors and suitcases. They get abandoned in silence, over dinner, in the space between "how was your day?" and "I'm fine." They keep showing up, keep apologizing for invisible crimes, keep performing for love that's already been withdrawn. Society told them that being a good man means being understanding, patient, endlessly forgiving. But nobody warned them that endless forgiveness erases you. It starts small: she makes a joke at your expense, and you laugh to keep the peace. She sighs when you speak, and you talk less. She stops asking your opinion, and you convince yourself it's maturity, not dismissal. Slowly, invisibly, your own reflection starts to fade. You look in the mirror and see someone who used to know what he wanted, now just trying not to upset her. And here's the cruel part: the world celebrates this version of you. The good man, the safe man, the one who never raises his voice, never questions, never walks away. But beneath that applause is quiet pity, because deep down, everyone knows what you forgot: love without respect isn't love at all. Modern relationships turned into a performance of surrender. Every word you say feels pre-approved, every emotion filtered through fear: fear of conflict, fear of losing her, fear of being alone. You start to live as if her happiness is oxygen, and you're the one holding your breath to keep her alive. But every breath you hold kills a little more of you. That's the paradox. The more you try to keep her close, the more she drifts away. The more you bend, the less she sees you. Until one day, she's sitting right beside you, and yet it feels like there's a continent between you. You reach for her hand and realize it's not her you've lost, it's yourself. You don't notice the crown on her head until you realize yours is missing. It never happens all at once. No alarms, no collapse. Just erosion, slow, silent, patient. Like water against stone, wearing you down grain by grain, until the man who once stood tall becomes a version of himself he can't even recognize. At first, you were proud of who you were. You had conviction, a sense of direction, something solid in your spine. You walked into love believing it was a partnership, but somewhere between her soft requests and her quiet disapprovals, you started to trade pieces of yourself away. One compromise here, one apology there. You told yourself it was love because that's what everyone says love is: sacrifice, understanding, compromise. But what they don't tell you is that too much compromise becomes self-erasure. You stopped meeting your friends as often because she didn't like them. You changed the way you spoke because she said you sounded harsh. You learned to avoid eye contact when she was angry, not because you were wrong, but because you didn't want the fight. And little by little, the man who once filled the room now blends into the wallpaper. She didn't demand control. You handed it to her politely, silently, one act of peace at a time. And here's the tragedy: she didn't even ask you to disappear. She just tested how much you'd give. You mistook her tests for love. You mistook obedience for devotion. You mistook fear for respect. Society calls this maturity. Happy wife, happy life, they say, the slogan of men who surrendered their fire and called it wisdom. Movies romanticize the quiet, obedient husband who takes it all and smiles. But no one shows the other side: the silent resentment, the lost laughter, the numb eyes of men who've been domesticated into ghosts. The truth is, love isn't supposed to be servitude. It's supposed to be electricity: two people meeting as equals, both bringing their full selves to the table. But when one person kneels long enough, the other forgets how to look them in the eye. Watch her posture when she talks to you now. Listen to her tone. That slight tilt of superiority wasn't always there. It grew each time you yielded, each time you avoided conflict instead of drawing a boundary, each time you apologized for existing too loudly. And one day, you'll catch her looking at you not with love, but with quiet disappointment. A disappointment she can't even explain because she doesn't hate you. She just can't respect what you've become. Love isn't supposed to erase you. But that's exactly what happens when you kneel too long. There's a strange law that governs human connection. People test what they need to trust. A woman doesn't test you because she hates you. She tests you because she's searching for the edges of your strength. But here's the paradox. The very act of testing can destroy the thing she's testing for. It's erosion disguised as affection. In the beginning, the tests seem harmless. She makes a sarcastic comment just to see how you'll react. She criticizes something small, your outfit, your plan, your timing. You brush it off, thinking it's no big deal. But each test that passes unchallenged becomes permission for the next. Over time, it's no longer about a joke or a preference, it's about dominance. Every push she makes is a question. Are you stronger than me? And every time you bend, you give her an answer she doesn't want to hear. Because deep inside, despite everything modern culture teaches, she doesn't want to lead you. She wants to trust you. She wants to know that when the world shakes, you'll still be standing. But the modern man has been trained to misunderstand this dynamic. He's been told that love means submission, that to keep the peace, he must absorb the storm. He thinks he's preserving harmony, but what he's really doing is dissolving his backbone in silence. Each time she cries and he gives in, each time she threatens and he apologizes, he's carving away at his own strength, piece by piece, test by test. There's an old saying among psychologists, you teach people how to treat you. Every failed test teaches her that her power grows when yours shrinks. It's not evil, it's instinct. Just as gravity pulls everything down, emotional gravity pulls control toward whoever holds composure. I once heard a story about a man named Daniel. He was kind, attentive, generous, everything society says a good man should be. His girlfriend adored him at first, but as months turned into years, she began to change. The more he gave, the less she respected him. One night, during an argument, she said something that burned into his memory. You never fight for anything. He thought he was being kind. She saw it as weakness. That's the paradox. She tests for strength, but destroys it when it doesn't exist. It's not her cruelty that kills love, it's his compliance. And every time you fail, she doesn't just lose respect, she loses safety. The same woman who once looked at you with warmth now looks through you with quiet contempt. She doesn't feel protected anymore because you've become too afraid to protect even yourself. There comes a point when silence stops being peace and becomes self-betrayal. That's when truth becomes the only weapon worth drawing. Not the truth that wounds for sport, but the kind that resets the balance, the kind that strips away illusion. The first truth is simple, yet devastating. She's ordinary, not cruel, not vindictive, just ordinary. When you say it calmly, without venom, it cuts deeper than anger ever could. Because every woman wants to believe she's the exception, the one who transcends the rest, the one who can't be replaced. When you look her in the eye and say, you know, I thought you were different, but you're just like the others, same patterns, same drama, same fears. Something inside her fractures. It's not humiliation, it's revelation. You've just dismantled the illusion of her specialness, and for the first time, she sees herself through your unfiltered eyes. Then comes the second truth, your indifference. She threatens to leave you hold the door. She says she needs space. You tell her to take all the time she wants. Not as a trick, not to provoke, but because you've remembered something she forgot. You were fine before her, and you'll be fine after her. That's the moment her world collapses, because her power was never in her love. It was in your fear of losing it. When that fear disappears, the whole game ends. And then there's the nuclear one, the truth that detonates ego from within. She's not unforgettable. When you calmly, almost casually, say the physical connection was never extraordinary, that it was just okay, the silence that follows isn't anger, it's disbelief. Because you've just taken the one weapon she thought was untouchable, her sexuality, and revealed it was never the reason you stayed. That moment doesn't destroy her, it awakens her. It forces her to see that attraction, validation, and control are not the same thing. But here's the thing, most men misunderstand these words. Aren't acts of cruelty, they're acts of correction. They're not swords, they're scalpels. You don't use them to hurt. You use them to cut away infection, the manipulation, the emotional blackmail. the subtle tyranny that's poisoned both of you. Modern culture calls this cruelty because it fears truth. It teaches men to be soft, agreeable, endlessly understanding, while women are encouraged to be strong, independent, assertive. But when a man speaks truth without apology, when he stands tall and refuses to be managed emotionally, suddenly he's labeled cold, toxic, heartless. What they don't understand is this: truth doesn't destroy women, it destroys illusions. And illusions are what make love rot from the inside out. The cure will always feel like poison to the one addicted to the lie. There's a moment in every collapsing relationship when you stop chasing and simply start observing. It's the shift from desperation to awareness, from "how do I fix this?" to "why am I still here?" That's where emotional indifference begins, and it's far more powerful than anger will ever be. Indifference isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's the calm that returns once the storm no longer matters. And when you reach that stillness, something strange happens. She starts to move differently. The same woman who used to test you, provoke you, ignore you, suddenly begins to adjust her tone, watch your reactions, work to earn your attention again. Because now, the gravity has reversed. You've stopped orbiting her and she can feel it. This is the essence of what I call the mirror method. Whatever energy she gives, you reflect it back, not as revenge, but as balance. If she's distant, you give distance. If she's cold, you cool the room further. If she plays games, you exit the game. You're no longer trapped in reaction, you're demonstrating reflection. And that reflection forces awareness, because for the first time, she's seeing her own behavior without the cushion of your forgiveness. There's real psychology behind this. A 2015 study out of Stockholm followed couples during conflict. It found that when men remained emotionally steady, not angry, not apologetic, just calm, women's cortisol levels dropped faster. Their nervous systems literally calmed down in the presence of composed masculinity. Her biology recognizes your stillness as safety, not control, not intimidation. Safety. You don't have to raise your voice or prove your worth. The moment you stop defending yourself, the argument loses oxygen. The fire dies. Because she's not really trying to win, she's testing whether you'll collapse. And when you don't, the test ends itself. But here's the real secret. This indifference must be real. You can't fake it. She'll know. You have to mean it when you say, "Go ahead, do what you need to do." You have to actually be fine with her walking out that door. Because the power isn't in pretending you don't care, it's in truly not needing her to complete you. Society has sold men the lie that emotional availability means emotional exposure. Be vulnerable, they say, show your feelings. But what they don't mention is that vulnerability without respect breeds pity, not intimacy. She doesn't want to fix you, she wants to feel safe with you. And safety is built through your silence, your steadiness, your refusal to crumble. The moment she realizes you don't need her to breathe, she finally starts to breathe again. Something changes when you stop fighting to be understood, when you stop begging, explaining, negotiating for the smallest scraps of peace, and instead, you just stand still. That's when her crown begins to slip. Not because you took it, but because the pedestal she stood on was built from your submission. Men often believe that dominance in a relationship comes from aggression, but it doesn't. It comes from emotional gravity. The one who needs less always controls the temperature of the room. And for years, you've been giving away that control, apologizing before you've even done anything wrong, explaining your intentions like a defendant pleading for mercy. You thought you were protecting love, but you were only protecting her illusion of power. When you finally reclaim your composure, when you refuse to kneel, something inside her breaks and something inside you reforms. You start to feel the quiet strength that used to define you. The man who once whispered now speaks with calm certainty. The one who waited for her approval now walks without permission. It's not revenge, it's resurrection. She'll resist at first, most will, because what she built depended on you staying small. She'll accuse you of changing, of becoming cold, of not caring anymore. But that's not true. You simply stopped mistaking anxiety for love. You stopped equating chaos with passion. You stopped feeding a system that only rewarded weakness. The real tragedy of modern relationships is how they glorify dysfunction. We've turned toxic endurance into a love language. We call control commitment. We call fear romance. But love was never meant to feel like survival. When you rise back into your own strength, she has two choices: respect you or leave you. And either way, you win. Because once you've remembered who you are, her approval becomes optional. You realize you were never in her kingdom, you were just sitting in exile from your own. I remember seeing a man once, standing in a quiet kitchen after an argument. No yelling, no tears, just a look of clarity. He turned, walked out the door, and never explained himself again. Not out of cruelty, but out of final understanding. That's what it looks like when the crown collapses, not with noise, but with peace. The world will tell you you're heartless. She'll say you've changed. But what really happened is simple. You stopped being ruled. When you no longer need her approval, you no longer fear her loss. There's a moment subtle, invisible to everyone else when a man finally wakes up. It doesn't come with shouting or breaking plates. It comes with quiet certainty, like a door clicking shut inside his chest. He realizes that all along, the power he thought she held over him was borrowed from his own fear. And now, that fear is gone. That's what the red button represents. Not destruction, but awakening. The decision to stop performing, to stop appeasing, to stop explaining why you deserve peace. The decision to speak truth, even if your voice shakes. You see, every woman fears one thing more than losing you. She fears you not fearing to lose her. Because the moment you stop chasing her approval, her entire control system collapses. Every emotional weapon she's ever used, withdrawal, silence, comparison, guilt, becomes useless. You're not angry, you're not begging, you're simply unmoved. That calm is nuclear. It burns through manipulation without you lifting a finger. But here's the twist that most never understand. This isn't about punishing her, it's about restoring her humanity. Because unchecked power corrupts both the ruler and the ruled. When you stop feeding her ego, you free her too from the monster control has made her. She may rage, she may cry, she may fight it at first, but underneath it all, she feels relief. For the first time in years, she's standing in front of a man she can respect again. The red button isn't a call to war, it's a call to remember. To remember who you were before the fear, before the guilt, before you built a cage and called it love. It's the moment you choose self-respect over comfort, truth over harmony, reality over illusion. Push it, and tomorrow you wake up different. Not louder, not colder, just real. A man whose silence carries more truth than his words ever did. A man who doesn't need to win because he's already free. Or don't push it. Keep the peace. Keep pretending. Keep playing the extra in someone else's story, forgetting that your own has been waiting to begin. But understand this, the crown doesn't disappear because she took it off. It disappears when you remember it was never yours to bow to. And when that happens, when your indifference becomes truth, when your strength becomes quiet, when your love stops begging to be seen, that's when you finally become what she always wanted, but never believed you could be. The man who no longer needs her to feel whole. The red button is right there. Push it and reclaim your life.